What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the Thunderlord, and I probably haven't made a video on this weapon in several years, truly fully reviewing it, and that is what I'm going to be doing today. There's been a lot of changes since that last video. First, there's a new catalyst you can get from playlist activities, the machine guns in general have been buffed, and now the Thunderlord also has built-in overload rounds to it. And in this video I'll be breaking down its DPS and just generally seeing how good it is and just doing a new full review. So jumping into the new catalyst, pausing a lightning strike with this weapon partially reloads the magazine from reserves. And with this weapon there's gonna be two different ways to create a lightning strike, the first of which will be from final blows with the weapon, and there is a cooldown on this, roughly like half a second, maybe a full second, but this is gonna be happening all the time. Then the secondary way is from doing continuous damage will create more lightning strikes. So for Accler, every single time you get a final blow and it will create the lightning strike, it'll reload 7 bullets from the reserves back into the magazine, which for almost all activities in the game, you're going to be easily killing things within 7 shots, making it so you will never have to reload this weapon, which unfortunately kind of makes Feeding Frenzy irrelevant on the weapon. So overall this catalyst is a huge net positive, but also kind of removes one of the perks from the weapon. And for Accler, this thing absolutely shreds with the lightning strikes and everything you throw at it, from just simple playlist activities all the way up to master nightfalls, raids, whatever it is. This thing just absolutely shreds. Take like the entire Arc 3.0 subclass and put it into a machine gun, and that is what this thing is doing. So obviously the catalyst is really good for Accler, but for single target damage, it is going to increase the damage in a very unique way by giving ammo back to the magazine. And as you see, I can kill Carl and still have over half the magazine left. So if I go over to a strike boss that has more health, as you see, just holding down the trigger, which will ramp up the Thunderlord and make it shoot faster and faster, roughly every 10 or 11 bullets cause a lightning strike. And as you see, I can almost do my entire reserves without reloading the weapon, but there's still, about 80 bullets to go. And that is where you can use the Actium War Rig to reload the ARs or machine guns over time. So combining that with the Thunderlord catalyst, as you see on the same strike boss once again, I can easily shoot off all of the ammo in the weapon without ever reloading it, which is pretty good. And there is a cap to the rate of fire of the weapon, but obviously the longer you can shoot without having to reset that cap, the higher the DPS will be. So this should be a huge positive for the DPS of the weapon and a good bonus to its ad clear potential. So the question is, what is the DPS of Thunderlord? And it's not the easiest thing to calculate, but we're going to try our best. So looking at that, first on Carl, as we mentioned earlier, every 10 or 11-ish bullets, it'll proc the lightning strike. And the lightning strike will just hit the target once, and it will do on Carl this like 10.2000 number. But the thing about Thunderlord, along with some of the other machine guns, they don't do the same damage to bosses as they do majors, and Carl is a major. So damage on a strike boss is only a little bit lower, and the lightning strike will hit for 8802. So using the same clip as before, up until he teleports, I timed it and counted how many bullets and how many lightning strikes hit. I think this is going to be by far the best way to accurately represent what Thunderlord would be doing in a real boss fight and how it would ramp up and how many lightning strikes it would do. So adding all that stuff up, it was roughly 53.4 thousand DPS, which honestly for a machine gun isn't that bad at all. And considering that this thing is a monster for Accler, also doing that decent of DPS is really good. And its total damage output isn't that bad either. It's not great at 1.1 million, but just comparing that to like a linear over the same amount of time would be doing roughly 70,000 DPS. But you gotta remember, Thunderlord is also one of the best Accler weapons in the entire game, so its DPS isn't that far off, some of the top options in the game, but brings so much more to the table for everything else other than boss fights. And what you could do is kind of take advantage of abilities to further increase the DPS of Thunderlord. So for example, on Titan, using the improved storm grenades and the Heart of Immos Light build, just simply throwing a grenade at the boss as you start shooting Thunderlord would add a lot of DPS. And now this is like a pretty meta combo and competitive with some of the best things in the game. Then if you're playing on Hunter, you could take advantage of the 1-2 punch combo to kind of carry your boss fight DPS. And on top of that, the Thunderlord also has built-in overload rounds. So taking the Titan build and Thunderlord into a solo lost sector, it feels really good. It can easily kill a champion before they have to be restun completely by itself. Obviously throwing a grenade or using an ability would help it along the way and help you conserve some ammo, which is one of the only issues. If you're using the Thunderlord and Thunderlord alone for like all the actor and the champions and the boss, you're probably gonna run out of ammo, which is where, you know, using some abilities and some other things might help along the way. And the Thunderlord, depending on the boss and which Lost Sector or Nightfall it is, it could be a slight liability for boss fights compared to using something like a linear, but I think it makes up for the fact with the built-in overload rounds and the really good actor that I think it's kind of worth it. Now, the Lost Sector gameplay you see on screen is one of the worst bosses in all of Lost Sectors because there's a shield and it has quite a lot of health, so it definitely wasn't a good one for the Thunderlord. But I think for most Lost Sectors, most Nightfalls, things like that, I don't think it would really hinder you that greatly. Yeah, you're going to lose out a little bit of DPS compared to some other things in the game, but last time I checked, a linear fusion rifle definitely can't kill ads like Thunderlord, and only losing roughly like 17-ish thousand DPS really isn't that big of a trade-off. So overall, how good is Thunderlord right now? Honestly, I think it is a very, very solid pick for most things in the game. I wouldn't be taking it into like a raid boss fight or an encounter where it's only mostly the boss fight. But for most things in the game where there's gonna be tons of ad clear and things leading up to a boss, for example strikes or like any of the seasonal activities, I really do think it's one of the best picks you can do right now and pairs really well with all of the Arc 3.0 builds. Which I guess could also be a argument for why the Thunderlord isn't really necessary, is because a lot of the builds in the game right now are already extremely good for ad clear, or there's a lot of good special weapons that are really good for ad clear, where you don't need an exotic power weapon to do that for you, and using your power slot purely for DPS makes sense in a lot of different situations, but you can definitely make this work. So yeah, I think that is all I really gotta say about this weapon. Let me know what you think about it down below, and the rest of the video will just be some gameplay with the Thunderlord. Like usual, thanks for watching, catch you guys next time.